The funniest ones are where people tell me I look like Superman, but don't realize that I'm playing Superman. Those are fun. And that's most of what's happening at the moment. I don't think I've had too many people actually recognize me. Just like I have for a while, people will randomly be like, you know, you kind of look like Superman. Oh, yeah, yeah. Now I have to sort of be like, do you mean the guy who's playing him now or the guy who's going to play him next? Because the guy who's going to play him next, you're closer than you think you are. It started with, hey David, it's James Gunn. And I said, can you prove that? I guess in the moment before when I saw the unknown 310 number, I thought, I'm pretty sure this is James telling me whether or not I got the part, but could be anybody from Los Angeles who has my number and maybe somebody's gonna play a prank on me. Anyway, I think he appreciated that, and he said, that's a good point. I'm calling to offer you the role of Superman. And I said, well, you're the only person who could do that, so it must be you. We had a nice, brief conversation. Things were moving kind of fast because, as he explained, they were having, a lot of information about the screen test was getting leaked out. Who exactly was screen testing and whether or not we were in costume and all these things. So he was like, so I said, how long do I have to keep this quiet? And he said, oh, everybody's gonna know in about an hour. You have about an hour to tell some people and then everybody's gonna know.
Hey buddy, eyes up here.
Your wife's reaction when you were cast?
I tried to express to her in the sort of simplest terms, I'm gonna play Superman. And it's the kind of sentence that it's hard, you don't really know how to say it because you don't quite believe it's true. It sounds ridiculous to say out loud. Even now it sounds ridiculous to say out loud. And I knew that she was gonna be very excited and very proud of me. I think she felt from when we did she helped me make my first self-tape for the part. And she felt at that point that I should get the part. I didn't feel at that point. I thought she was crazy, but she felt it from the beginning. So if anything, I knew that she was gonna be even more excited than I was. The first time, I hadn't thought about this before. You hear actors who play superheroes talking about squeezing into the suits. I got kind of claustrophobic in the suit the first time, just like being constricted in all those places at the same time. The fact that it takes a few minutes to get out of it, sort of, there's no like quick release. It was an intense experience and not this amazing, glorious, becoming the character moment. It was in pieces. The S wasn't even on yet. It was really just about the blue tights. It was quite snug because they had made it to my proportions when I screen tested, where I weighed about 195 pounds. And when I walked in for my first costume fitting, I weighed about 235, 240 pounds. A lot of work goes into making those suits. They don't work like regular clothes, and they're not built like regular clothes, and they need to fit and function in a way that's just, again, kind of impossible. They shouldn't be able to work the way they do. There's no zipper, there are lots of zippers, but there's no single zipper that allows me to go to the bathroom, which you would think would be quite straightforward, but nothing is straightforward about these things. I mean, we talked about it and we tried, and it was not worth the costs that came with it. But the suit and I sort of grew together to the point where when it did kind of all come together in the last fitting before I stepped out on set for the first time, it felt familiar, and it didn't feel like a new thing for me. It felt like my suit, which was amazing. And then when I walked out on set, everybody else saw it for the first time. Nobody had been in it, it was just me and the costume folks in the fitting. So I still got that experience of sort of walking out in the suit for the first time. So I got to see that experience on other people's faces rather than having it myself.
I cleaned your boots. I'll go get them for you.
I feel much more a sense of responsibility than a sense of accomplishment at having gotten the role. I also know that so much in life, and especially the life of an actor, is up to chance and good luck. And certainly, you get what you make of your situation. But the reason I thought it was impossible that I'd ever get to play Superman was because it's impossible that anybody would get to play Superman. The odds that you're at the right age, at the right time, and the right director is taking on it just is as good as impossible as anything is. So for me, it's just I just think of it as a great stroke of luck, and I better do everything I can to earn the responsibility.
Easy, miss. I've got you.
You've got me! Who's got you?
I think while I was at school, he was somebody who we talked about quite a lot as an alumni who was to be sort of admired and looked up to. And his relationship with Robin Williams while they were at school was very much a piece of Juilliard lore that we learned about and talked about. Long before I was auditioning for the role, I just happened to stumble on some of the early interviews that Chris Reeve gave about playing Superman, and I probably at that time remarked on the similarity I felt with him in sort of his perspective on the business and his way of talking about it. He was sort of wonderfully candid while still being earnest and open-hearted, but he never felt like he was being a politician or a diplomat. You always felt like he was giving a real answer, and he also had a graciousness, a grace about the trade-offs of playing the role, especially at that time when he did two sort of bold things. One was to leave the theater to go play Superman on the screen, which at that time would have been and was considered sort of selling out, especially for a classically trained actor. And also then playing this role where it's him in his tights and a cape.
This country is safe against Superman, thanks to you.
No, sir. Don't thank me, Warden. We're all part of the same team.
My dad was a theater actor for many years after he graduated college in New York, and I think he just saw an audition notice for, a 9-year-old boy for All My Sons, which is a great Arthur Miller play that was being produced at the Arden Theater, one of the great regional theaters in Philadelphia. And I think he just asked me whether I was interested in doing that. And I guess I said yes. The experience of getting to go to work with 9, 10 professional actors in Philadelphia and directed by Terry Nolan, who's the artistic director of the theater, it just felt like such an obviously exciting enterprise, hanging out with adults and learning your lines not just for the school play, but for a paying audience that you knew was, getting a paycheck every week was a crazy thing for a 9-year-old. I think I got some portion of it, and I'm sure that it went towards Legos. That was definitely my vice at that point.
I read that your father gave you a subway token as a good luck charm for auditions.
Well, so he gave me several subway tokens over the course of my my childhood career doing theater around Philadelphia, because I would lose them all the time, and he had a lot of them. Now, it was very special. Just after he died, and I was going through his stuff, he had always given me tokens that were, I don't know when they switched over to the MetroCard, but they were pretty recent tokens. So he could just get a bunch and give them to me to lose. But just after he died, I found in his in a little jewelry box a much older New York City subway token with the Y cut out of it, of NYC. And so that I now keep as a token of his, as a reminder of that. As Alec Guinness says, in my experience, there's no such thing as luck. In the sense that, I don't know whether it actually brings me good luck, but I do keep it around to keep a piece of my dad with me. I think, as a lot of parents do, he felt like I was underappreciated by the people around me. He thought that I was really terrific, and he sort of always had this thing of, somebody should be making better use of David. So I think ultimately, James has made very good use of me in this role, and I was able to give everything that I have to give to the film and to our crew, and So I think he'd be very happy that I have been put to good use. I feel like I've been a dad for a long time and just waiting for a kid to prove it. My dad was a very was an enthusiastic father and stayed home with my sister for a period when she was very little, and was very good with kids. And so I think I inherited that. I'm also very like protective of my friends. Like if I'm out with a group of people, I'm the one making sure that everybody's got their seatbelts buckled and that, you know, we're looking both ways before crossing the street. And so I often, for many years, I've sort of been, with every cast I've worked with, you know, when we go out, I sort of earn the title of cast dad. And so now I just have a kid now I actually have my official, you know, equity card.
Hey, quit messing around.
I'm not messing around, I'm doing important stuff. I won't really know how my life will change until we get there. And you know, I'm somewhat of a skeptic. I have good friends who tell me that like I will struggle to remain anonymous. I'm sort of skeptical. I don't know whether I think, you know, it's not a sure thing that everybody will suddenly recognize me everywhere. The character is a very recognizable character, and it is easy to shout out Superman, whereas shouting out David Corenswet might take people a little longer to figure out. But he does have Clark Kent going for him, so maybe I'll have that going for me too.